Tampa. Reports say that Bowles is finalizing a new 5-year deal with the Bucs. Shannon, how much do you think Tom Brady actually had to do with this decision?
99.9%. I hate saying 100%, but 99.9%. Because Todd Brady told BA, you're stepping down today, and we're going to have a press conference tomorrow on Thursday at 1 p.m. And you're going to say all the right things. I believe Tom Brady told the management it's BA or me. That's as simple as that. We got no indication. We heard him talk at the combine. We heard him talk afterwards, how excited he was that we got Tom back and we got a chance to compete for a title. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, he steps down. It steps down to do what, a senior consultant? Kind of like Brad Stevens stepped down to go up. Yeah, you get it.
It's not stepping down, it's getting kicked upstairs.
Yeah. So he got demoted, promoted.
He did.
Skip, this is what we know. This notion that Tom doesn't have an ego and he just wants to be one of the guys has never been true. Tom Brady is everything that they try to convince you that he's not, and even more. Now, this is what Tom Brady said on the Shop just last year. What I say versus what I think are two totally different things. I would say 90% of what I say is probably not what I'm thinking. There's a part of me that doesn't like conflict. So in the end, I just always try to play it super flat. I usually say the opposite.
Aha.
Yep. Everybody knows this. Man, kudos for BA. He got Tom Brady to come back, and he wanted Todd Bowles to get this job. Stop it, y'all. Stop it. If y'all believe that, y'all bigger dummies than I actually even thought you were. You and I both know there was conflict. There was some reporter that was about Tom Brady possibly going to Miami, and Sean Payton possibly joining me, yada, yada, yada. But with the situation with the previous coach, Brian Flores, we get all that. We also, this report, is that there was some conflict between Tom Brady and BA about the game plan. This notion that out of the blue, that BA is going to all of a sudden say, you know what, give me that consulting role. That's not happening. So I know everybody wants to, and I'm happy for Todd Bowles. I believe he probably should have got a vote. Byron Leftwich should have got a job, even without this happening.
Yep.
I commend BA for having so many minorities, be it black, women, on his staff. Nobody has staffed their coaching staff like BA has.
True.
He's put teeth. There ain't just no coaches speak.
Yep.
It's just not a slogan.
Yep.
He's actually done it. But if anybody thinks that this was out of the kindness of his heart and Tom Brady played no role in this, they're absolutely mistaken. I believe Tom Brady's thumbprint, handprint, palm print, whatever eye scan like you do at the airport, Skip, I believe all of Tom Brady is on this move. And no one can convince me otherwise.
You sound like you've been listening to somebody across the table from you, because I think I've been saying this from the start. As soon as the shocking announcement came down that Tom Brady was retiring from football, I said, that's impossible. As far as I know, he's about as close to healthy as you could ever get following an NFL season. He seemed very happy with the way he was performing because it was at the highest level. I thought he should have been the MVP. Aaron won it. You thought Aaron. But he played beautifully this year.
He played top 5 football.
You can argue it was one of, if not his greatest season ever. Statistically, you could argue it's right up there with the 2007. And I said, this is just wrong because he can't be burned out on football, but he can be burned out on BA, as in Bruce Arians. So let's hark back to the first year in Tampa. How many times did I come out here and beat this table saying, what are you doing, Bruce Arians? You dare to publicly chastise and criticize Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., the GOAT of your game, because you once coached Ben Roethlisberger and Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck and Carson Palmer. You coached them all. So who's Tom Brady to me? He's just another quarterback.
It started the first game, too.
No, he's not. It was the first game, and he threw him right under the post-game bus.
He did.
And I kept telling you, you just can't do that. And you said, well, I agree, because there's no way you're coach Mike Shanahan would ever have publicly just
John Elway.
Just ripped and slashed John Elway. You can't get away with it. It is not done in your league at this level.
Not to a quarterback like that.
You can't do it to John Elway in Denver. You can't do it to one of these made men because it's not how the game is played off the field.
Right.
It's just wrong because that quarterback has enough trouble without you turning on him in the postgame. He's going to have enough critics because he's always going to get, as we know, too much blame and too much credit.
Correct.
But he's definitely going to get too much blame. You don't need to pile on or open the door for the critics to rush through and say, see, even BA criticized Tom. And yet it was Bruce Arians' ego. I can do this. I know more than Tom Brady does about football. And then we heard little bits and pieces of he was imposing his will and his ego on game plans, that he would allow Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady to try to come up with something that was not yet in ink. And he would go through and redline out a bunch of the play. No, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And I believe it was driving Brady crazy. And what did we say? After the bye week, which came late in that season, after they had lost at home to Kansas City, albeit after a pretty good comeback, they lost 27-24. They had a week for Brady to just seize control of the offense. And I believe he then turned on Arians and said, no, we've got to do this, this, and this. Remember, they added some screens. They added some motion. They added a few wrinkles that Tom had been staples in the New England offense.
He and Byron Leftwich was already working on that. And then B.A. was coming in and throwing it out because that's really not his game plan. B.A. is no risk it, no biscuit, throw it down the field. And Tom is like intermediate, short. And if the deep throw is there, I'll take it. But just to willy-nilly throw the ball down the field because we can, that's not how we do. That's not how I like to do it.
So I said, I do not believe that Tom is retiring from football. He's retiring from Tampa. And I believe he wanted to suddenly, quote unquote, be free enough that he could explore an option that immediately presented itself. I told you I heard from a source very close to Brady that he was actually making calls to check with his trusted advisors around the league. How would it work? Do you think it would work if I joined Sean Payton and went to Miami, then the Brian Flores bombshell dropped, and all of a sudden all bets were off in Miami? They had to go they went a different direction at head coach. I still believe that he went back to the Shanahans in San Francisco. Well, you didn't want me 2 years ago. Could we think about it now? And they want to move forward with Trey Lance. They invested their whole future in Trey Lance. And I love Trey Lance, but I would love Tom Brady more for the next year or two, going back home to San Mateo, where he grew up, in the shadow of Candlestick Park, and finish as a 49er. I think that's the way the fairy tale should have ended. I believe your Shanahan said, no, we're not interested in that. We want to move forward with Trey Lance. And all of a sudden, it's Tom having to go back to Jason Light and obviously the Glazer family and say, hey, look, I am willing to come back and play another year, but you got to get that man out of my hair. You just got to get him out of my way. And I believe that in the end, they finally said, okay, let's figure this out and let's ease him up the stairs up into the Jason Light office. He says, I'm on the other side of the building now as a senior advisor.
Well, Skip, to your credit, you said there was going to be a buffer between Tom Brady and B.A. You didn't mean there was going to be a wall. A literally wall.
Like an opposite side of the building buffer.
Like I'm on one floor and you're totally on the other floor. That's the buffer between the two now. Okay,
Bruce now says, hey, I'm still going to go to practice every day. Well, trust me, he can stand on the sideline and watch, but he cannot involve himself. I promise you the ground rules are laid in concrete. You cannot participate.
Well, you're a senior consultant. How do you, what are you doing at practice? You're
draft and free agency.
Skip, I get you at practice, but, Todd Bowles, the head coach. Byron Leftwich is the offensive coordinator. Consultants, they just, jot stuff down and maybe take it to the head coach, or maybe take it to the coordinator. But during the actual practice, you're not intervening. You're not saying anything.
I got you. So in the end, Tom Brady strikes again. I believe Tom Brady wins again. But to your point, Tom Brady is Michael Jordan in a very different package. And to your point, and I give you this point, he will not own this because he posted an IG statement in which he gushed about BA. And the whole point of it was, Don't look at me. Don't blame me.
Right.
I love this
Right.
man. And I do believe there's a big part of Tom that loves
Right.
what BA stands for. And to your point, I'm going to read just the first couple of lines of this because it's just vintage. It's a shrewd social media operator. He says to Bruce, "You are an incredible man and coach, and it was a privilege to play for you. You are a true NFL legend and